What's up guys? To conquer high levels of clan boss, it is imperative you are running a speed-tuned team. Speed tuning is when you gear your champions in a way that takes their turn order into consideration in regard to not only each other, but the clan boss as well. The best way to do this is to visit deadwoodjedi.com. This site has plenty of pre-existing speed tunes available that reliable sources have already come up with. You can browse by turn ratio or by champion to try to find a tune you can build using champions you have available to you. If you do not have access to an unkillable champion, your best bet is likely to try to find a 2-1 turn ratio team. A 2-1 ratio team is one where every champion takes 2 turns for every 1 turn the clan boss takes. The most common and accessible 2-1 speed tune for most players is the High-Katoon White Whale. This speed tune is made possible by utilizing High-Katoon's speed aura, as well as her turn meter boost and speed buff, in addition to a buff extender or a second speed champion. I personally prefer the buff extender as it allows you to keep important buffs up, like increased defense or ally protect for longer to increase your longevity in the fight. The longer you live, the more turns you take and the more damage you deal. The team you see on your screen now is one I've been building and tuning for the last week or so. As I go through each champion, it is important to note what job the champion is filling. Don't fall into the trap of saying to yourself, "Oh, well, I don't have these exact 5 champions. This video is trash. I can't build this team." Instead, listen to their roles, see what job they are filling, and think critically about champions you may have access to who can fill similar roles. Raid is a game about making the best with the hand you have been dealt. So, with that disclaimer out of the way, now for a bit of irony. To make this particular speed tune, you would need Elva Autumnborn. She is the backbone of this specific tune, however, there are plenty of other champions whose speed buff can enable a 2-1 speed tune. You'll just have to find one you have access to and piece the rest together as best you can. For this team, I'm utilizing Elva for her speed aura to make the necessary speeds easier to achieve. Her A2 to place increased speed on my champions to enable the 2-1 turn ratio, as well as apply the block debuffs buff on everyone for 2 turns, which keeps my team affinity friendly and prevents anybody from being stunned. On top of all that, her passive ability and continuous heals placed on her A1 are the only healing I have on this team. She's doing 4 jobs at once. For my buff extender role, I'm using Sandlash Survivor. Any buff extender whose buff extension ability is on a 3-turn cooldown could function in this slot, but Sandlash not only happens to be a very good champion, she's also the only one that I have, so that's who I'm going with. My decreased attack champion is Dark Kale. Not only does he provide decreased attack, but he also brings a ton of poison damage, as well as debuff extension and a very powerful passive that prevents the clan boss from landing critical hits on anybody on my team. This passive will help eliminate bad variants that could otherwise end and run early. Decreased defense and weaken are being provided by Rosin Scarhide. Not only does he bring these 2 very valuable debuffs, he also does a ton of damage. He actually out-damages my Dark Kale with raw physical damage. It's very impressive. And to provide my team with not only increased defense, but ally protect as well, I have Tyrant Ixlamore. Tyrant also has a passive that will reduce the damage taken by my team by 10%, as long as the target is under HP burn. And wouldn't you know it, Tyrant applies an HP burn for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown with his A2. So, to sum everything up, we have 30% increased speed buff, 60% increased defense buff, 50% ally protection buff, and a buff extender to increase the duration of those buffs to give me optimal uptime for damage mitigation and to enable the 2-1 turn ratio. And for debuffs, we have 50% decreased attack, 60% decreased defense, 25% weaken, HP burn, poisons, and poison sensitivity. The only thing I'm missing that I'd like to include, well, besides Valkyrie, is a 25% strengthen buff. Unfortunately, I just don't have a way of working that into this team. But if you have access to such a thing, go ahead and squeeze it in. It will increase the longevity of your team tremendously. Time to go over gear sets. Your Ally Protect champion should be equipped with Stalwart and or Defiant gear. Ideally, 3 Defiant sets would be optimal. Unfortunately, I'm a free-to-play pleb and the Forge Pass was not kind to me, so I have to settle for Stalwart set. If you can get into Defiant while reaching the required speed, defense, and HP thresholds, do so. What are these thresholds, you may ask? Speed is going to depend entirely on which speed tune you are using. For that, check deadwoodjedi.com. For defense and HP, if you have an increased defense buff up for each clan boss attack, 2,700 is the minimum defense, but more doesn't hurt. Personally, I feel more comfortable around 3,000. If you do not have increased defense buff up for each clan boss attack, any champion who lacks this buff should try to be built with 4,200 defense. Because Tyrant brings his own increased defense buff, mine is geared with just over 3,000. HP is a little trickier. The first build I did for my Tyrant had close to 80,000 HP, but I noticed he was outliving everyone else by such a significant margin, I decided to dial that back. I replaced his HP percentage gloves with crit rate gloves to gain a little more damage, and now he still has 67,000 HP, and while he is still very tanky, the damage he takes from each AoE is more in line with the rest of the team. This way, no stats are being wasted and I'm able to squeeze out a little more damage. I would say your Ally Protect champion should have about 20,000 HP more than the champion on your team with the lowest HP. If one champion dies, the speed tune falls out of sync, and the rest of your team will die within a couple turns. Here, you can see, despite Tyrant having roughly 20,000 HP more than the others, after the attack, everyone has about the same HP missing. This is what you're looking for when you're optimizing your builds. If you have the gear available to you, consider building the rest of your team in Guardian sets. Guardian sets behave the same way Ally Protection does, in that they reduce the damage your team takes significantly at very little cost to the Protector. The clan boss has a passive called Gathering Fury. This passive ramps up the damage the clan boss deals over the course of the fight. After Ally Protect reduces the damage of clan boss by 50%, the remaining damage that was reduced is dealt to your Ally Protect champion. However, it only deals an amount of damage equal to an amount as it was before modified by Gathering Fury. So your whole team has the damage they receive cut in half, and your Ally Protect champion receives a small amount of extra damage. Guardian set works in the same way, only it reduces the damage by 10% instead of 50%. Also, Guardian set grants a 10% max HP heal to the champion wearing it, so not only are they mitigating damage from the rest of your team at very little cost to themselves, they gain a nice bit of extra healing as well. Don't be afraid to experiment with different gear sets and builds on your champions to see which, if any, give you a boost in survivability or damage. Also, don't be afraid to experiment with different champions and team compositions either. What you see here is not the first team composition I experimented with. Only through trial, error, and perseverance was I able to work out the best team for my account. If you're struggling to decide who your best 5-man team should be, feel free to join my community Discord and ask for guidance, whether it's for Clan Boss, Doom Tower, or anything else in between. Just be sure to post your questions along with screenshots of your roster in the appropriate channel, and either myself or a fellow member of my community will offer assistance as soon as we are available. It can take a lot of resources to max out a champion, so it never hurts to get a second opinion before you take the plunge. I'll have a link to my community Discord in the description of this video, as well as a link to deadwoodjedi.com. Anyways, that's going to be all for this one. If you found this guide helpful, consider giving it a like. And if you'd like to see more of my content, consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And if you'd like to see a more in-depth guide on this specific team, don't worry, I'll have that video out soon. I'll go ahead and let the rest of this key play out for those of you who are interested. And for those of you who aren't, hopefully I'll see you in another video soon. So until next time, everyone, happy raiding.